Hi, I'm Michelle Begue with a look at what's happening in Latin America now. But first, our news trivia. In which Latin American ports is the 92-year-old Italian Amerigo Vespucci ship making stops on a worldwide tour? We'll have the answer later. Mexico's legendary tourist destination, Acapulco, has been unexpectedly hit by a massive hurricane. Hurricane Otis rapidly intensified on Wednesday night from a tropical storm to an extremely dangerous Category 5 hurricane. The damage has been difficult to assess, officials say, because Otis completely knocked out power to the region. Initially, President Andrés Manuel López Obrador said there were no casualties, but now over 24 deaths have been reported. The Category 5 storm tore roofs off of homes, flooded roadways, and has already caused devastating landslides. Argentina held its first round of presidential elections this past weekend, and my colleague Joel Richards has a report.
The race for the presidency in Argentina continues to deliver surprises. At the weekend, despite the economic context with triple-digit inflation, economy minister, government candidate Sergio Massa won with 36% of the vote. Far-right libertarian Javier Milei had been expected to win, according to polls, and after winning the most votes in August primaries. But Milei did manage to defeat conservative candidate Patricia Bullrich, which sets up a second-round runoff between Massa and Milei. Now, these are two candidates with very different projects for Argentina. Massa promises to seek consensus and to avoid an economic shock which would hurt lower-income sectors of society. Javier Milei, on the other hand, was often seen wielding a chainsaw during his campaign trail, a straightforward metaphor of his vision. Milei has promised to dollarize the economy and privatize state companies. Milei also promised to defeat the political establishment, the political caste, as he calls it. He has the support of the Bolsonaro family in Brazil and Spain's Vox party too. He was viewed as a protest vote, but now ahead of November's runoff, that commitment will be tested as he needs to form alliances. Third place Bullrich has said she will support Milei, but some factions of that conservative alliance have said that they will not support that decision. Voters go to the polls on November the 19th.
Venezuela is also in the lead-up to presidential elections for 2024. This weekend, Venezuela's opposition party chose its candidate to challenge President Nicolás Maduro next year. Ex-lawmaker Maria Corina Machado received 92% of the votes, leaving all competitors far behind. Machado is a strong proponent of free market economic policies, but back in June, the government banned her from running and accused her of tax violations, among other allegations. Latin American leaders met in Mexico to hold a summit on migration. The presidents called on destination countries like the U.S., without naming it specifically, to change the way it deals with the flood of undocumented migration at its border. The presidents of Cuba, Venezuela, and Colombia met with the host president, Andrés Manuel López Obrador of Mexico. They called for countries to end inconsistent and selective policies that grant entry to certain nationalities but not others. They also asked to broaden the rules to allow legal and safe passage for migrants. In Brazil's Rio de Janeiro, gangs set fire to dozens of transport vehicles on Monday, including 35 buses and a train. This unprecedented attack on Rio's public transport system is being called a terrorist attack by Rio's state governor. The violence reportedly occurred in retaliation for the killing of a senior paramilitary leader named Mateus da Silva Rezende, also known as the Lord of War, by police special forces. The attack brought parts of the city to a standstill and temporarily closed 45 schools. Now let's check out the stories we're following for next week. First, we're following the visits of a couple of South American leaders to China, beginning with Chile's leader Gabriel Boric, who held his first official visit to the Asia giant. His objective is to deepen relations between the two countries. During the 4-day trip, he met with President Xi Jinping and participated in the Third Belt and Road Forum for International Cooperation. Colombia's President Gustavo Petro also made his first visit to China this week and met with the country's president. Government officials say Petro wants to diversify economic offers to China, its second largest commercial partner after the United States. The South American nation has already been approved to export meat to China. Second, we're following Bolivia's red health alert over smoke contamination. The city of Santa Cruz is experiencing high levels of air pollution due to drought, forest fires, and contamination. Officials say there are 16 registered forest fires in the country. And now the answer to our news trivia. The answer is all of the above. The Italian ship Amerigo Vespucci was built in 1931 for the training of naval cadets. It's often called one of the world's most striking ships. Now 92 years old, the vessel embarked on a 2-year world tour, starting this July from Genoa. It will make a total of 31 stops in 28 different countries, so tourists can go on board to visit. Right now, it's in Rio de Janeiro, but it's already stopped in Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic, Cartagena, Colombia, and will be heading out to Montevideo, Uruguay, as well as 2 ports in Argentina. Then it will pass through the Strait of Magellan to make stops along the Pacific coasts of Chile, Peru, Ecuador, Panama, and Mexico. And that's it for this week. We'll see you again soon on Latin America Now.